Hi there. My name is Natalie Mainland, and I'm the Vice President of Industry Solutions for Higher Education at Salesforce.org. And I am so excited to be here today speaking with Tom Andriola, the Vice President and CIO of the University of California System. And I think this is a great time to sit down and maybe have a chat because it's back to school time in higher education. So Tom, welcome today.
Thank you.
And before we dive in, it would be great if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your role with UC System.
Sure. So as you said, I'm the Chief Information Officer. I work out of what's called the Office of the President, which is kind of the central hub. And I work across all 10 campuses, 6 health systems, and the 3 national labs that the university manages. I have a really fun job in that I get a chance to really look broadly at the use of technology as it supports the mission and get to ask fun questions of not just how we're using technology today, but how we might use technology tomorrow to enhance the mission of the university.
That's fantastic. And so the UC System is really one of the largest, most prestigious public research university systems in the nation, as well as probably globally too. And I think you've got over 500,000 students, employees. So when you think about your role as CIO and technology in general, how can you leverage technologies like CRM or the Salesforce Education Cloud to really help drive efficiencies across campus and maybe improve the student experience as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Salesforce platform is so broad in its capabilities now that we actually do both. A great example for efficiencies is, we use Salesforce in our HR payroll service center, our retirement service center for doing the basics of CRM, like 360 view of the customer. How do we do case management and those type of more, general functions that you guys have been doing for literally decades now. But some of the more exciting applications are what we're doing with our students. The students who come to us today, I mean, they're digital natives. They're mobile first. I have 3 of them in my family, and I'm constantly amazed at how they interact in the world differently from the world that I know. And so that means that universities have to become more student-centric. We have to meet the students where they are. We have to design our services and our interactions with technology in a way that is accustomed to the way they're experiencing the rest of the world, like when they're on Instagram or Flipboard, or I could go on and on. That means a lot of personalization, the ability to do things with that little device that's in their hand. And so that's what we're having to design all of our services for. And it's a real change for us. We don't like to use the word customer in higher education, right? But we really have to become much more comfortable with it.
That's really interesting. And certainly that's one thing we hear more and more from students is they're really demanding that kind of personalized experience as they go through their education journey. So how are you thinking about tailoring those student experiences at the UC System?
Yeah, so I think it's, a lot of it is, where do we need to be able to interact with the students and not just think about them in the 4 years that they might be with us on campus, right? If we're going to become really kind of customer centric, we're really thinking about more and more the longitudinal relationship that we're going to have with an individual. From the time that they first express an interest in coming to one of our campuses, to their 4 years or 5 years with us, to their ongoing career aspirations and the new knowledge that they're going to need over the course of their career, right? So if you start to think about it in that kind of longitudinal way, you really start to think about different touch points along that where you want to work it. How do you make it easy for them?
Yeah.
How do you allow them to make their appointments? I was just in a conversation a couple of days ago talking with one of our career centers who was watching their utilization statistics go down while the number of employers they were bringing on was going up, while the number of services they were offering was expanding. Their statistics were going down. What they realized is it was going down because students were being forced to come in or make a phone call to make an appointment. And today's students don't do that, right? They want to interact over their phone, right? They want the LinkedIn experience of being able to, I need to be able to update my profile right from my mobile device. I need to have I've done my profile. I want the opportunities that are of interest to me pushed to me so that when I open up the application, those top 3 or 4 things that I might be interested for my summer internship are there, right? So it's a really, really different mentality that these students are taking us to. And there's just a great example where, the education cloud is kind of designed to provide that holistic view of things and having more personalization built into the experience.
That's fascinating. That's really great. So another thing that we hear a lot about is artificial intelligence or AI and how that might be leveraged in higher education. And, it pretends to have, amazing applications to automate tasks across campus. You think about advising, we just touched on that, helping advisors really hone in on those students that need that extra help and support. So how are you thinking about artificial intelligence in the UC system? And even more broadly, what are your thoughts for higher ed?
Yeah, so I think AI is on everybody's hype list now, right? Everybody's talking about it. Every CEO is coming back and saying, what are we doing? And I like to call AI assisted intelligence rather, because I don't think there's anything artificial about it. I think what we're trying to do now is this is the next wave of technology trying to provide a better experience, a more frictionless experience, a faster experience. And it has all to do with the fact that there's more and more data, right? Our students, have more digital interactions and leaving more fingerprints and footprints for us to take advantage of. And whether it's natural language processing or machine learning, we're finding ways to incorporate that to better understand them and what they're looking to get done. So it starts with the basics. I would say this, the whole use really kind of started with what are business schools. They probably were some of the early movers on this. Haas at Haas School at Berkeley, Anderson down at UCLA, really thinking about a holistic, longitudinal experience. But now what we're seeing in terms of AI, we're seeing things like bots. Let's take the simple questions and deflect them away from individuals answering them and really, build bots that are able to say, where can I get that service on campus? How can I download the form that allows me to put in for my financial aid? And that's going to evolve into looking and analyzing more of the data correlated from many, many different sources across the campus to say, what is it that I need to be able to do? I mean, I envision a day that I don't think is too far in the future because I see us getting pieces in place when I talk to different campuses of understanding when a student, especially a first-generation student, might be struggling. What information from different sources, whether it's the library, or the learning management system, or the dining hall, or when they're moving around the network, what resources are they accessing? What can we learn about them, and how might we have an intervention at the right time? Is it better to do that intervention through the learning management system or pushed right to their phone? When we make an intervention, where's the feedback, right? Because AI needs a lot of feedback to get better and better at doing these things. So I see the first generation kind of case management looking a lot like what chronic disease management patients look like in healthcare now, which is that there's this care team in place to kind of watch over and guide them, who are providing information into the engines that's saying, here's where, there's the trajectory around this individual, and here's how we do what we can to help them.
That's really, really fascinating. So let's look at the end of the student journey, right? When they've graduated, and, it's a challenge for many new graduates to find a job. So how are you thinking about applying technology to help students in sort of towards workforce development, or helping them find that career path once they leave the institution?
Yeah, so I think it starts with remembering what a research university does, right? We create knowledge, we disseminate knowledge, our faculty disseminate that knowledge to students, and then we put that knowledge to practice, right? And so when I think about kind of career development, it actually starts while they're at school. And for example, at Santa Barbara, where they don't have any professional schools, students get opportunities to work in the faculty's labs. It'd be a part of their research, much more than many of the other campuses. It's something very unique to that campus. And so that ability to kind of interact with faculty and learn from them, but also have an experiential opportunity with them is, again, part of what prepares them for what is going to happen after they get their degree. All the campuses have very mature internship programs and job placement programs. If you think we're in California, right? So the technology industry is here, a lot of major companies here. And so the technology field really plays a role in a lot of the opportunities that our students get to experience. I love programs like Trailhead because it's such a great opportunity of leveling the playing field. that every student gets the same opportunity to develop their skill sets, right? And those are important experiential learning experiences. And of course, then you have career services, the formal place where they go to prepare themselves, learn how to build their resumes, job interviewing skills, and then how do they do that match between the employers who are looking for students and what are the skills, both the hard skills and the soft skills that they're looking for, and how do the students, through all the experiences and all the knowledge and frameworks that they've gotten, how do they get matched up to do that? So it's a pretty dynamic process and getting more infused with technology all the time.
Maybe you could tell us also how you're using technology to build those lifelong relationships with your students once they become alumni. How are you engaging with them and keeping them involved? Yeah,
this is a place I think the business schools have taken the lead, and the undergraduate programs are following. The question will be how quickly they follow. Really this concept of, when we engage into a relationship with a student, it needs to be in the context that we're thinking about it from a lifelong relationship and not just a 4-year experience of a pass-through of a way station. And so, whether it's, the things that they experience with us, what are we capturing about that? How do we maintain that? How do we stay connected to platforms on the outside that they stay involved in, and be able to share information so that we know where they are? Today, top flight programs, if I went and I got my MBA and I'm on a track in the financial field and I'm a director of finance for an organization, but my aspiration is to be a CFO, I expect the school I got my MBA from to be pushing me, saying, hey, there are a couple of CFOs who are also alumni in your area. Here's an opportunity for an introduction, right? So that extends the relationship, which is good for that relationship. It also, what we've seen and learned from other universities that are more aggressive in these behaviors is that it actually leads to better alumni giving over the long haul, right? Because you're staying relevant in their experience, right? In their experience of life.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key values at Salesforce is equality, and we also kind of like to look at it through the lens of equity, right? And so providing really the students what they need to be successful on their journey and beyond the institution. So could you share a little bit about what the UC system is doing in terms of giving back to the community, or again, really helping provide access to education for students who may not have had it in the past?
Yeah, so let me point to a couple examples, right? I would argue that nobody does more than the University of California when it comes to providing first-generation students an opportunity to move, up the social ladder, right? Higher education is the best social mobility engine we have in our society. And so when you look at, we have 40+% of our students are first-generation students, right? We have, record numbers because California is so diverse in terms of students coming from underrepresented minorities, right? We are the gold standard. We have more Pell Grant students at the University of California than all the Ivies put together.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
And so, there's some things, that stand out for me. One is what we do, not just as an educational institution, but combining that with what we do as an economical engine. So let's take Merced, our newest campus out in the Central Valley. Over the next decade, between the state, the university, and the private sector, we're putting $1 billion of investment, not just into the campus, but into the economic development around the region that is going to transform that region, the students that go there, and the people who choose to build their lives around that community. If you look at our president, Janet Napolitano, she's one of the strongest advocate voices in the state around that no student, the University of California is not outside the reach of any student. She has a program that she works with the mayor of Oakland and the Oakland Unified School District, where the goal is to triple the number of Oakland resident graduates out of the University of California. So, she's a strong advocate for it. She makes herself available going around the state talking to high school students saying, it's not outside of your reach, right? This university system is there for every Californian, and it can be there for you.
That's fantastic, and it makes me proud to be a Californian too, just sort of the investment and the focus on the UC system that we're seeing too. And so, as a CIO, we've talked a lot about trends in technology such as CRM or AI, but I'm really curious to see, what excites you? What makes you wake up in the morning and be excited about, leveraging technology for higher education?
Yeah, so there's one part we haven't talked a lot about. It's the research part of the University of California, right? We are research universities. We do, a lot of people don't know this, but we do $5.5 billion of sponsored research every year. That's a large company to a lot of enterprises. And we do it in pretty much every domain you could think of. And as CIO, the research game is actually undergoing a lot of change and transformation, because to stay on top of the research enterprise and to be at that scale, you have to be really good at certain things. And research today is all about data. Yeah. And so as CIO, I have a major role in ensuring that we are in the forefront of the next generation for how research will be done. And that includes everything from the standpoint of next generation networks. So we have a network design that's been adopted by National Science Foundation that is going to allow our researchers to really do 2 orders of magnitudes more data and faster throughput to analyze that data. So can you get to the data? Can you move it? Can you analyze it? Can you visualize it? Can you do it in real time versus having to wait a week or a month? I mean, this is, part of how we stay on top of the research game. The second part is the ability of having so many, great, intelligent people who are on top of their field, is to create different combinations that have never been tried before. And I'm on a small team at the university that's doing something really, really cutting edge, where we're taking the agriculture and food science people and we're teaming them with the health science people to really talk about something we just call food as therapy. And if you think about this, right, there are a lot, the way in healthcare is all based around people are sick, and then we try to make them better, versus how do we keep them well in the first place, right? And instead of saying, here we give them an expensive pharmaceutical product to keep them healthy, now that we know that in the microbiome that 80% of the immune system is driven by the health of the bacteria in your gut, how can we actually design food, a personalized food and nutrition plan that keeps you healthy? And it's different from the one that keeps me healthy. I get chocolate cake, you get broccoli and carrots. I'm sorry. Can we change that? Right. But here's the amazing thing and why I get to play a role. Right. With all the advancements in genetics and phenotypic electronic health records and computational biology, it's an IT computation problem. So we bring the technologists in to be a part of the solution design. And we bring the students in because a lot of this ties back to things that they're very passionate about, whether it be the environment, sustainability, equity. So it's a really, really great feel-good situation when we kind of get to be there kind of at the point of the spear trying to create tomorrow. And that's one of the great things about the University of California.
That is just so fascinating. So what does the future look like to you for the UC system then?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of more of the same and what comes next. So more of the same is we have to continue to do the best job we can creating a high quality education for every one of the students who comes to us. We have to continue to contribute to a vital, vibrant economy for the state of California. And we have to be a cutting edge research organization always, right? And then we have to be that engine for social mobility. Right? And so we do those things today, and we have to continue to do them and find a way to do them in such a way that, higher levels of success, more affordable, and open to everybody. The new part is technology is driving pretty much every major change that's going on in the world and in our societies today. Technology, both good and bad, is playing a major role. And so being the CIO of such a major institution means that there are just so many places where I get to plug in to say, so what does it look like 10 years from now? What does medicine look like 10 years from now? What is that education? That was the conversation with our provost. I'm not so worried about, our student success factors today. We always seem to be up there at the top, and, people laud us when they compare us against others. But what do we think that interaction with the students is going to look like 10 years from now? What are those students going to be like? What are our faculty going to be like? What's technology going to give us the opportunity to do, right? So it's that constant ability to say, what's coming next?
Yeah.
And then having the resources across the university to say, we want to be there first. We want to lead the way. That's what Californians are all about.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us here today. And it's been a fascinating conversation hearing your thoughts on technology and higher education and the amazing work that the UC system is doing.
Natalie, thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. And please join us if you're in the higher ed space at Dreamforce this year. We've got an amazing number of sessions and content purely dedicated to higher education, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.